"Daddy, why is the mean lady saying I can't be the flower girl?" My 5-year-old daughter Lily sobbed as HOA President Carol Henderson tried to throw her out of the wedding for inappropriate dress. What this racist Karen didn't know. I'm the mayor, and she just discriminated against my child. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The white roses looked perfect in the morning sunlight. Each petal was like silk, glowing through the big church windows. My 5-year-old daughter Lily pressed her small nose against the glass, watching all the wedding people work. Her big brown eyes were sparkling with excitement. "Daddy, do I really look like a princess?" Lily asked me for the 10th time that morning. She touched the delicate crown of tiny white roses on her head very carefully, like it was made of glass. "You look like the most beautiful princess in the whole wide world," I told her, kneeling down to fix the small wicker basket full of rose petals in her tiny hands. "Remember what we practiced every day this week. Walk slowly, smile at everyone, and sprinkle the petals on the ground like snow." Lily's face lit up with the biggest smile. She had been practicing for 3 whole weeks, ever since we got the special invitation. Being chosen as the flower girl for her cousin Sarah's wedding was the most important job she had ever been given in her entire 5 years of life. Every single day after kindergarten, she would walk around our living room, stepping carefully to music only she could hear, pretending to scatter paper petals across our hardwood floors. "I won't mess up, Daddy. I promise," she said seriously, holding the basket like it contained precious jewels. Sarah walked over to us in her gorgeous white wedding dress that looked like something from a fairy tale. The dress had tiny pearls sewn all over it and a long train that swept behind her like a cloud. "Uncle Mike, I can't thank you enough for letting Lily be part of my special day. She's been talking about nothing else for months. Yesterday she told her kindergarten teacher that she was going to be the most important person at a wedding." Sarah was my younger sister Emma's daughter. Emma lived all the way in London with her husband, so Sarah was practically like my own daughter. We had been close since she was born 22 years ago. When Sarah's father, my brother-in-law David, died in that terrible car accident last year, I promised Sarah that I would walk her down the aisle on her wedding day. Having Lily as the flower girl made this day even more special for our small but loving family. "She practices every single day after school," I said, watching Lily twirl around in her beautiful white dress with its flowing skirt. "Don't you, my little princess?" "I know exactly what to do," Lily announced proudly, standing up very straight like a soldier. "Walk slow like a queen, smile pretty at everyone, throw the flower petals like magic snow, and don't trip over my dress." The wedding was being held at St. Mary's Cathedral, the most beautiful church in our city. After the ceremony, everyone would drive to Willowbrook Country Club for the reception party. Willowbrook was one of the most expensive and fancy places in our whole city. Sarah had been dreaming about having her wedding there since she was Lily's age, looking through bridal magazines and pointing at pictures. "I am the mayor of our city, and I have been mayor for 3 years now. Usually, I'm very busy with city council meetings, budget meetings, and dealing with all kinds of problems. But today was different. Today I was just a proud uncle and a happy daddy. I had taken the entire weekend off from all my official mayor duties to focus completely on Sarah's wedding and making sure Lily felt special." 5 minutes until we start the ceremony," announced Mrs. Garcia, the sweet elderly wedding coordinator who had been helping Sarah plan everything for 6 months. That's when I saw her marching across the church lawn like an angry storm cloud. It was Carol Henderson, and she had that familiar mean scowl on her face that I had come to know and hate from countless city council meetings. As president of the Willowbrook Estates HOA, Carol had made herself the biggest thorn in my side for the past 3 years. She was always filing complaints about city ordinances, demanding special treatment for her fancy neighborhood, and generally trying to cause as much trouble as possible for everyone around her. "What in the world is she doing here?" I muttered under my breath, feeling my good mood start to disappear. Sarah noticed the worried expression on my face. "Uncle Mike, what's wrong? You look upset." "Nothing important, sweetheart. Just some boring work stuff that followed me here." But deep in my heart, I had a terrible sinking feeling about why Carol Henderson had shown up at Sarah's wedding uninvited. Carol stormed into the church vestibule like she owned the place. Her sharp black high heels made loud clicking sounds against the marble floor that echoed through the peaceful church like gunshots. She was wearing an expensive black business suit that made her look like she was going to a funeral instead of a happy wedding celebration. "Excuse me. Excuse me," she announced in a voice so loud it could probably be heard 3 blocks away. She marched right up to the photographer who was taking beautiful final pictures of Sarah and the bridesmaids. I need to speak with whoever is in charge of this event immediately. Mrs. Garcia, who had been arranging flowers near the altar, hurried over as fast as her elderly legs could carry her. Ma'am, the wedding ceremony is about to begin in just a few minutes. Is there some kind of emergency? Yes, there absolutely is an emergency. Carol's sharp voice echoed through the peaceful church like breaking glass. That child over there is not properly dressed for a venue of this caliber. My heart felt like it dropped into my stomach. She was pointing directly at my precious Lily with her long, perfectly manicured finger. I'm sorry, what did you say? Mrs. Garcia looked completely confused and a little frightened. That little girl's dress is completely inappropriate for this location. The hem is too short, the style is too casual and childish, and frankly, she doesn't belong in a venue of this importance and prestige. Lily looked up at me with scared, confused eyes that were starting to fill with tears. Daddy, what did I do wrong? I thought my dress was pretty. Nothing, baby girl. You didn't do anything wrong at all. Your dress is absolutely beautiful. Carol continued her loud tirade, waving her hands around dramatically. As a newly elected member of the Willowbrook Country Club Board of Directors, I have the full authority to enforce dress codes and venue standards. That child needs to be removed from these premises immediately, or I will be forced to call security to escort her out. Wait just a minute. Carol was on the country club board? This was the first I had heard about this development, and it was definitely not good news. Ma'am, Mrs. Garcia said as politely as possible, this little girl is the flower girl. She's an official part of the wedding party. I don't care what role she's supposed to play in this ceremony. She is inappropriately dressed, and frankly, her presence is disruptive to the other distinguished guests who have come here expecting a certain level of sophistication. I felt anger building up in my chest like a volcano about to explode, but I forced myself to stay calm and controlled. This was Sarah's special day, the day she had been planning and dreaming about for years. I absolutely would not let Carol Henderson ruin it with her petty meanness. Mrs. Henderson, I said, walking over to her as calmly as I could manage. I think there has been some kind of misunderstanding here. Oh, it's you, she said with pure disgust in her voice, like she had just smelled something terrible. I should have known you were behind this. This explains absolutely everything. Explains what, exactly? Why this inappropriately dressed child thinks she can waltz into a place like Willowbrook Country Club dressed like she's going to some backyard barbecue. She gestured dismissively at Lily's beautiful dress like it was made of garbage. Lily started to cry real tears now. Daddy, I thought I looked pretty like a princess. You said I looked beautiful. You do look pretty, sweetheart. You look absolutely perfect, like the most beautiful princess in any fairy tale. No, she absolutely does not. Carol snapped viciously. That dress is obviously from some discount department store, isn't it? It probably cost less than what I spent on my shoes this morning. This is Willowbrook Country Club, not some cheap community center. The truth was Lily's dress had cost me almost $300. It was custom made by the exact same designer who had created Sarah's wedding gown. But even if it had come from the cheapest store in town, so what? Lily was only 5 years old and she looked absolutely adorable. Mrs. Henderson, this is a private wedding ceremony. You have no authority here whatsoever. Actually, I most certainly do have authority. She pulled out an official-looking folder full of papers. As of last month, I was elected to the Willowbrook Country Club Executive Board of Directors. I have full authority to enforce venue standards and remove anyone who doesn't meet our strict dress code requirements. My heart sank all the way down to my toes. If Carol really did have official authority at the venue, she could technically have Lily removed from the wedding. And knowing Carol's vindictive personality, she would absolutely do it, just to spite me and cause as much pain as possible. Please, I said quietly, trying to keep Lily from hearing our conversation. This is my niece's wedding day. It's the most important day of her life. Don't do this cruel thing. You should have thought about that before you brought that inappropriately dressed child to my venue. Sarah appeared at my side, her face pale with worry and confusion. What's happening here? The ceremony is supposed to start in exactly 2 minutes. All the guests are seated and waiting. This woman is trying to kick Lily out of your wedding, I explained, trying to keep my voice calm for Sarah's sake. Sarah's face went from pale to bright red with fury. Excuse me? What did you just say? Lily is my flower girl. She's the most important part of my wedding. Not anymore, she isn't, Carol said with cold cruelty. She's being removed immediately for serious dress code violations. Are you completely insane? Sarah's voice rose to almost a shout. She's 5 years old. She's just a little child. Age is completely irrelevant. Standards are standards and rules are rules. That's when Lily really started sobbing. Not just quiet crying, big heartbroken sobs that echoed through the church and broke my heart into a million pieces. "I want to be the flower girl," she wailed, tears streaming down her little face. "I practiced so hard every day. Daddy, please don't let the mean lady take me away from the wedding." Every single guest in the church was staring at us now. The beautiful organ music had stopped playing. The photographer had lowered his camera. Sarah's perfect dream wedding was turning into a complete nightmare. "You're making a terrible scene," Carol said to Lily with complete disgust. "This is exactly why children like you don't belong in venues like this." Children like her? I felt my mayor voice coming out, the serious, authoritative tone I used when dealing with corrupt politicians and criminals at city council meetings. "What exactly do you mean by that statement?" "You know perfectly well what I mean. This is a place for sophisticated, cultured people, not..." "Not what?" "Please finish that sentence, Mrs. Henderson." Carol suddenly realized she was about to say something that would get her into very serious legal trouble. "Not people who can't afford to dress appropriately for the occasion." But I knew exactly what she really meant. Lily and I were one of the very few mixed-race families in our predominantly white, wealthy city. Lily's mother, my ex-wife Maria, was Latina. Lily had inherited her mother's beautiful olive skin, dark silky hair and warm brown eyes. I had seen the way people like Carol looked at her sometimes, with that barely hidden prejudice that they thought they could disguise as standards. "Mrs. Henderson," I said, my voice deadly calm and controlled. "You have exactly 30 seconds to walk away from here before I make this situation your problem instead of mine." "Are you actually threatening me?" She laughed with a harsh, ugly sound. "What are you possibly going to do to me? You're absolutely nobody here. I'm on the board of directors." "Daddy," Lily tugged on my jacket with her small hand. "Can we just go home now? I don't want to make any more trouble for Cousin Sarah." My heart completely shattered. My beautiful, innocent 5-year-old daughter was willing to give up her biggest dream of being a flower girl just to avoid causing problems for other people. "No, sweetheart. We are absolutely not going anywhere. This is your special day too." "Yes, you most certainly are leaving," Carol said with a triumphant, mean smile. "Security? I need security over here right now." 2 large security guards approached us reluctantly. They both looked extremely uncomfortable and unhappy about the situation. They clearly did not want to be involved in throwing a 5-year-old child out of a wedding. "Ma'am," one of them said to Carol hesitantly, "are you absolutely sure about this? She's just a little kid in a pretty dress." "I am completely and totally sure. Remove them both from the premises immediately." Sarah started crying real tears, her beautiful makeup beginning to run. "This is supposed to be my wedding day. The happiest day of my entire life. You can't do this horrible thing." "I can and I absolutely will," Carol said coldly. "Maybe next time you'll choose your flower girl more carefully." That's when something deep inside me completely snapped. Not as a father trying to protect his daughter, as the mayor who had been dealing with Carol Henderson's entitled, discriminatory attitude for 3 long years. I pulled out my cell phone and made a very important call. "Chief Rodriguez? This is Mayor Mike Torres. I need police units dispatched to Willowbrook Country Club immediately. We have a situation involving harassment, discrimination, and violation of civil rights happening right now." Carol's face went from triumphant to completely white with fear. "Who exactly are you calling?" "The police," I said with perfect calm. "And probably the district attorney's office after that. Discriminating against a child based on race and socioeconomic status is classified as a hate crime in this state." I never said one single word about race. Didn't you? Let's see what the security cameras recorded of this entire conversation. I had noticed the security cameras positioned strategically throughout the venue. Everything Carol had said and done was being recorded in high-definition video with crystal clear audio. "You're bluffing and trying to scare me," Carol said, but her voice was shaking with fear now. "Am I bluffing? Let me ask you one very important question, Mrs. Henderson. Do you actually know who I am? You're some nobody father who thinks he can intimidate me with empty threats." "Actually," I said, pulling out my official mayor identification badge, "I'm Mayor Michael Torres. You know, the elected official who signs your neighborhood city contracts? The one who approves your HOA special permits and zoning requests? The one who has final authority over your property tax assessments." Carol's face went from white to gray to green. "And this little girl you just tried to humiliate and throw out of a wedding? She's my daughter. And you just committed several serious civil rights violations against her in front of 200 witnesses, plus security cameras. The security guards immediately took several steps back from Carol. One of them was already on his radio, probably calling his supervisor to report the situation. I had no idea. I didn't know. Carol stammered helplessly. Didn't know what, exactly? That you can't discriminate against children? That harassment is illegal? That actions have serious consequences. The sound of police sirens was already getting louder outside the church. I had called in a personal favor, and Chief Rodriguez was responding with multiple units. Sir, one of the security guards approached me respectfully. I am so incredibly sorry about this situation. We had absolutely no idea Mrs. Henderson was going to behave this way. We never would have supported her actions. It's not your fault at all, I assured him. You were just trying to do your jobs. Can we please just start the ceremony now? Sarah begged through her tears. I just want to get married to the man I love. Of course, sweetheart. Lily, are you ready to be the most beautiful flower girl in the entire world? Lily wiped away her tears with the back of her small hand and nodded bravely. Will the mean lady really leave me alone now? The mean lady is going to have much bigger problems to worry about than bothering you, I promised her. Chief Rodriguez arrived with 3 police cars and an ambulance just as the organ music began playing again. He took one look at the situation and immediately understood exactly what had happened. Mayor Torres, what do you need from us? I need you to escort Mrs. Carol Henderson off these premises and take her statement about why she attempted to remove a 5-year-old child from a private wedding ceremony. Mrs. Henderson, Chief Rodriguez said in his most professional voice, I need you to come with me for questioning. This is absolutely ridiculous. Carol protested loudly. I was just enforcing legitimate venue policies. Ma'am, discriminating against a minor based on perceived socioeconomic status is a misdemeanor offense. Doing it based on race is a felony. We need to sort this situation out at the police station. As Carol was led away in handcuffs, still protesting loudly, the wedding ceremony finally began. Lily walked down that long church aisle like the perfect princess she was. She scattered rose petals with the biggest, most radiant smile on her beautiful face. Every single guest smiled and many wiped away happy tears as she carefully made her way to the altar, holding her head up high with pride and dignity. Sarah's wedding ceremony was absolutely beautiful and perfect. When the minister asked if anyone objected to the marriage, someone in the back row joked loudly, only if Carol Henderson comes back. The entire church erupted in warm, happy laughter. During the reception party at the country club, I received an important phone call from the district attorney. Mike, I heard about what happened at the wedding today. We're filing formal charges against Henderson: harassment, attempted violation of civil rights, disturbing the peace, and disrupting a private event. The country club management also wants to press additional charges. What's the likely outcome for her? With all the witnesses, video evidence, and her history of similar behavior? She's looking at significant fines, mandatory community service, and possibly jail time. Plus, the country club board is already meeting to remove her from her position. But the real victory came later that evening during the reception. Lily was out on the dance floor, spinning around in her perfect white dress, when she suddenly ran up to me with sparkling eyes. Daddy, did you really save my wedding day? It wasn't your wedding, sweetheart. It was cousin Sarah's wedding. But I was the flower girl. That made it partly my wedding too. I laughed and scooped her up in my arms, spinning her around. You were the most beautiful, brave flower girl anyone has ever seen in their entire life. The mean lady said I wasn't pretty enough for fancy places. The mean lady was completely wrong about everything. You are perfect exactly as you are, inside and outside. Will she try to hurt other children like me? That innocent question hit me like a punch to the stomach. Carol Henderson had probably been bullying and discriminating against people for years, targeting anyone she considered beneath her social status. Not anymore, princess. Daddy is going to make absolutely sure of that. Over the next several weeks, I learned much more about Carol's long history of discriminatory behavior. The country club's internal investigation revealed that she had been filing complaints about minority staff members for months, trying to get them fired for minor infractions that she ignored when committed by white employees. She had also attempted to block several families from joining the club, citing vague concerns about cultural fit and community standards. The Willowbrook Estates HOA conducted their own thorough investigation and discovered that Carol had been systematically using her position to harass residents who didn't meet her narrow definition of neighborhood quality. She had filed dozens of frivolous complaints against families with children, elderly residents, and anyone she deemed undesirable for her perfect community. As mayor, I launched a formal comprehensive review of all city contracts with organizations where Carol held leadership positions. What we discovered was truly shocking, a clear, documented pattern of discrimination that had been going on for several years. Carol Henderson was formally charged with multiple civil rights violations, harassment, and abuse of power. She was immediately removed from the country club board, expelled from the HOA presidency, and permanently banned from holding any positions in city-contracted organizations. But the most important victory of all was seeing Lily's confidence and joy return. A week after the wedding, Lily came home from kindergarten practically bouncing with excitement. "Daddy, Daddy, guess what amazing thing happened at school today?" "What, sweetheart?" "Mrs. Johnson showed our entire class the newspaper story about you and me. She read it out loud to everyone and said I was brave and beautiful and that mean people can't hurt me because my daddy is the mayor and he protects children." The local newspaper had indeed covered our story extensively. The headline read, "Mayor Protects Daughter from Wedding Discrimination." The article included a gorgeous photo of Lily in her flower girl dress, beaming with joy as she scattered rose petals down the aisle. "Did that make you feel proud?" I asked. "Yes." "And Tommy Rodriguez said his daddy is a police officer and that he helped arrest the mean lady. And Jessica Martinez said her mommy saw everything and told everyone that I looked like a real fairy tale princess." Seeing Lily's confidence and self-esteem completely restored was worth more than any political victory I had ever achieved in my entire career. 6 months later, I was re-elected as mayor by the largest vote margin in our city's recorded history. During my victory speech, I spoke passionately about the importance of protecting our community's most vulnerable residents. "Government isn't just about budgets and road repairs and business permits," I told the enthusiastic crowd. "It's about making sure every single child in our city can feel safe, valued, and welcome whether they're at school, at the playground, or even at family weddings." Lily was sitting proudly in the front row, wearing a special new dress decorated with tiny American flags and voting symbols that we had custom-made for the occasion. When I mentioned her during my speech, she stood up and waved enthusiastically to the entire crowd like the confident little leader she was becoming. After my speech, a reporter from the state newspaper asked me about the wedding incident. "Mayor Torres, some critics have said you overreacted to what was essentially a dress code dispute. How do you respond to that criticism?" I looked down at Lily, who was playing happily with a small American flag that someone had given her. "That wasn't a dress code dispute," I said firmly. "That was an adult woman attempting to humiliate and exclude a 5-year-old child because she thought her position gave her the power to get away with it. In our city, we absolutely do not tolerate bullies, regardless of their social status, wealth, or political connections." What message do you want other parents to take from this experience? That every child deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, no matter what they look like or where they come from. And that sometimes the most important battles we fight as leaders aren't in boardrooms or courtrooms, they're on church floors and dance floors, protecting our children's fundamental right to exist without fear or shame. The reporter smiled warmly. "And what about Lily? What did she learn from this experience?" Lily looked up at me with those beautiful, trusting brown eyes. "I learned that my daddy will always protect me no matter what, and that mean people can't stop me from being a princess if I want to be one." That night, as I tucked Lily into her bed, she asked me a question that made me pause and think deeply. "Daddy, why was the mean lady so angry about my pretty dress? I thought it was the most beautiful dress in the whole world." I sat carefully on the edge of her bed, thinking about how to explain prejudice and discrimination to an innocent 5-year-old child. Sometimes, sweetheart, people become unhappy and angry with their own lives, so they try to make other people feel bad too. It has absolutely nothing to do with you or your beautiful dress. It's completely about their own problems and sadness. But I really didn't do anything wrong, right? You did everything perfectly right. You were polite, you were brave, you were kind, and you looked absolutely beautiful. And you made sure she can't hurt other children? That's exactly right, princess. That's my most important job as your daddy and as the mayor of our city." Lily was quiet for a long moment, thinking seriously. "Daddy, when I grow up big, I want to be the mayor too." "Why is that, sweetheart?" "So I can protect other kids the same way you protected me." As I kissed her goodnight and turned off her bedroom light, I realized that Carol Henderson had unknowingly given us both an incredible gift. She had shown Lily what cruelty and prejudice looked like, which made Lily even more determined to show kindness and acceptance to everyone she met. Carol had tried to make Lily feel ashamed of who she was, But instead, Lily had learned to stand up for herself and others with courage and dignity. 1 year later, Lily started first grade at our city's most diverse and inclusive elementary school. On her very first day, she wore a bright t-shirt that said, "Future Mayor," and carried a special lunchbox decorated with pressed flowers from Sarah's wedding. When another child made cruel fun of a new student's accent, Lily immediately stood up and said firmly, "That's not nice at all. Everyone is different, and that's exactly what makes us all special and interesting." Her teacher, Mrs. Patterson, no relation to Carol Henderson, later told me that Lily had quickly become the unofficial protector and advocate for any child who was being picked on or excluded. "She has this amazing way of standing up to bullies that's both firm and gentle," Mrs. Patterson explained. "She never fights or raises her voice, she just makes it crystal clear that meanness and exclusion are not acceptable in her presence." That's when I truly understood that the real victory wasn't Carol Henderson's arrest, jail time, or removal from her positions of power. The real victory was raising a daughter who deeply understood that power and privilege should always be used to protect and uplift people, never to harm or exclude them. Carol Henderson ultimately served 90 days in county jail and completed 400 hours of mandatory community service working with disadvantaged children. She was required to attend extensive sensitivity and anti-discrimination training, and was permanently banned from holding leadership positions in any civic organizations for 10 years. But far more importantly, her cruel actions had positive consequences that rippled throughout our entire community and beyond. The country club implemented comprehensive new anti-discrimination policies and sensitivity training for all staff and board members. The city council passed stronger civil rights protections with real enforcement mechanisms. Parents throughout our city and neighboring communities started having important conversations with their children about treating everyone with respect and kindness. As for my amazing daughter Lily, she's now 8 years old and still dreams of becoming mayor someday. She volunteers regularly at community events, always making sure that every single child feels included and welcome. She has truly learned that being different isn't something to hide or be ashamed of, it's something to celebrate and embrace. And every time someone tries to tell her she doesn't belong somewhere or that she's not good enough, she looks them straight in the eye with complete confidence and says, "My daddy is the mayor, and he taught me that I belong everywhere I want to be." Because sometimes the most important lesson we can teach our children isn't how to avoid bullies and discrimination. It's how to stand up to them with dignity, courage, and the unshakable knowledge that they deserve respect and inclusion simply because they exist and matter. The white roses from Sarah's wedding are carefully pressed and preserved in a special photo album in Lily's bedroom, right next to a framed picture of her walking down that church aisle with the biggest, most joyful smile in the world. And every single night as I tuck her in and kiss her goodnight, I'm reminded that sometimes the most important mayoral duties don't happen in City Hall, they happen in protecting one precious little girl's right to be exactly who she is, wherever she wants to be.